In this video, I'm going to show you how to install a dryer receptacle that's for a 4-prong cord. And if you're new to this channel, my name's Josh. This channel is all about building your own house, saving a ton of money. So be sure to subscribe, ring that bell so you get notification every time I release a new video, and hammer that like button for me. That's all I ask in return for making this video. So without further ado, let's get started. In the jurisdiction that I'm building this house in, I must install an outlet that's for a 4-prong dryer cord. And the reason why that is, the 3-prong dryer cords are not grounded per today's standards. So if you take a look here up close, as you can see, we got a ground, that's where this is going to go, and then we got 2 hots and then the neutral. So the terminals in the back indicate just what I said. We got the ground, 2 hots, and then the neutral. So that is why in today's building standards, I must install the 4-prong dryer outlet. This project involves working with electricity, so if you do not know what you're doing, do not do your own electrical work. Be sure to hire a qualified electrician. So with that being said, this video is for entertainment purposes only. So I'm going to go over how I rough wired my dryer circuit. So the first thing I did is I ran a 10-3 wire going from my panel box over to a 2-gang electrical box. So in order for the electrical box to accommodate the outlet, it needs to be a 2-gang. And if we look over here, we wire the other side into a 30-amp double pole breaker. So that's going to give us a circuit that's 30 amps and double pole, so that way we can get 240 volts. So how that works is if you have 110 and 110 or 120 and 120, depending on what number you go with, that's going to give you double the volts. So in this case, I'm just going to say 120, 120, so that gives us 240 volts. So that's just exactly how I rough wired for my dryer. And the key concept here is just making sure that you use the correct size wire and the correct size breaker for when you rough wire. Now, if you're doing a 3-prong, you would only use a 10-2 wire. But again, nowadays, per code, 10-3 is what we must install. Now it's time to install the receptacle. So the very first thing you gotta do, which is the most important part to the whole process, is coming over to the panel box, opening it up, locating the dryer breaker, and this is the double 30 right here that I was explaining in the diagram, and I'm going to kick it off. So that's the first step you got to do to ensure safety. So after you kick the breaker, I also recommend taking a tester to the wires just to double check, because you do not want to touch 240 volts. The items I'll be using for this install is this flush mount 2-gang plate cover, this dryer receptacle that is 30 amp and for the 4-prong cord like I explained earlier, a number 1 square drive, a number 2 square drive, and then a straight screwdriver. And all these products can be found in my Amazon store, and the link is in the description below. And if you do make a purchase, I earn a small commission, but it's at no extra cost to you and it helps support the channel. I'm here in the laundry room, and right here is where the washer is going, and on the right side of it is where the dryer is going, and that is where we will be installing this receptacle. Here's the 10-3 wire that's going to be hooking to the dryer receptacle. And as you can see, we got our white, which is our neutral. We got our red, which is our hot. We got a bare copper, which is our ground. Then we got another hot, which is the black wire here. So we got 2 hots, a neutral, and a ground. And as you can see, I already have the wires stripped. And if you take a look at the back of this plate, which is the receptacle, on the back of the plate, it says strip gauge. So as you can see, if you put the wire up to the strip gauge, I just stripped off enough insulation in order to meet the strip gauge requirements. So that strip gauge is important because these wires are going to plug into the back of this receptacle. So I install my dryer outlets like this. So I'll have my ground up, my 2 hots and my neutral at the bottom. So with that being said, the first thing I do is install the bare copper into the green terminal here. Well, the green screw, which corresponds with this terminal. So all you got to do is simply take the copper wire, push it into that terminal as far as it'll go, and it's pretty simple to do. There's not going to be any resistance. And then all I gotta do is take my square drive, which is the number 2, and tighten it up until it is really snug. And always draw it down relatively tight. I use these wire strippers to strip the wires, and it's real simple. You just put the gauge wire into this head and then you just squeeze it and it strips the wire off, and it just is an easy process that way. Next thing I'm gonna do is take this black wire, which is a hot wire, and it's gonna go into this gold terminal here. And then I just hold it into place like before, take my number 2 square drive, and then just tighten this down really tight. And you don't want to tighten it so much to where you break this screw. And now what I'm going to do is take the red wire and I'm going to place it into this bottom terminal that has the gold screw that's corresponding with the hot terminal. And then lastly, I'm going to take the white wire, which is the neutral, and it's going to go into the neutral terminal. As you can see, I connected all the wires, and again, quick recap, the bare copper goes to the green screw, the black hot goes to the gold screw, the red hot goes to the other gold screw, and then the white wire is the silver screw terminal. Now what I'm going to do is push these wires back into that 2-gang box, and I try to roll them up in there nicely. Now what I'm going to do is switch this number 2 square drive out and put the number 1 square drive into the head of it. And these are the screws that came with this receptacle, so I'm going to go ahead and take them out, and that's what's going to mount the receptacle to the 2-gang box. Comment below to whether your house has a 3-prong or 4-prong outlet. I'm really curious. Now I'm going to switch out that number 1 square drive and put in this flat head, and then I'm just going to take the cover and it's going to slide right over the receptacle, just like so. And then all we got to do is take the screws that it came with and then tighten them into the receptacle slots. And there's little pre-drilled holes that's in the receptacle that will accept these screws. So I'm just going to go ahead and pre-start all of them. Just so you know, you can get a surface mount dryer outlet as well, which will not be recessed in the wall like you see here. Now all we got to do is tighten up the screws. So this dryer outlet is installed, and as you can see, the drywall guys got a little wild around here, but it's nice and secure, and that's all you need. And the ground is pointing up, and that's how I like to install mine. And that's all there is to this step. If you want to watch me wire this panel box, check out this video. It'll help you out.